The weaponization of psychiatric terms and the normalization of psychiatric terms and psychological language is something I find unfortunate because a lot of it does have a use in very specific circumstances, and it does not lend itself to self diagnosis and what diagnoses, I guess. Regardless, I am obviously a big believer in a lot of these things and have benefited from quite a few of them. Um, but I was watching a thing on dissociative identity disorder and multiple personality disorder, and a lot of it was all women doing it, and a lot of it to me comes off as quite performative. Um, and as I'm watching it, I'm like, didn't you used to think about yourself as three different people for most of your existence? I was like, I did. That was me. And then it makes me wonder, did I actually have something like close to dissociative identity disorder? Because, like, there's in my early life, there is a history of like quite severe abuse and sexual abuse and extremely disturbing stuff. Like, I've used the example before. Some of the more mild stuff was people putting paint chips underneath my fingernails to make me scream. I was very young. Before kindergarten, that stuff was going on. So like, it's real young, and there's a lot of much darker stuff that I really don't talk about, and I know if I do, like, people that are into that type of stuff will jerk off to it because it still like upsets me to talk about, and that gets people like that off. So I avoid it. But and I'm told that like there are still pictures because people took pictures when I was a kid, and I'm told a lot of those were like scanned and uploaded to the internet when that thing got big. So I have a lot of issues with like people that say like child porn doesn't hurt people and stuff like that, and it's like that's not something you're gonna say in front of me. It's gonna get a very negative reaction. Uh, but anyway, the split of my personality, the what I would have called the sundering of my personality, the fracturing of my personality. I saw myself as three different distinct things, and it went like this. There was the sheet, which would be close to what this is now. Very controlled breathing, very distant, doesn't react to much. My goal is still never to react to anything. Um, Regardless of what's going on around me, I don't react to it. And then there would be what I called the moral core or moral center. What I would have seen as the true me, which was a child anywhere between the ages of 3 to 6, depending on what I was thinking about and looking at. And then lastly, there would be the part of me that I don't like, the part of me that liked violence, that wanted to hurt other people, and relished in it, um, loved it, adored it. It- that was its existence. And that would be like formless and red. Um, Very uncomfortable for me. I don't like that such a part of me ever existed. I can tell you the day I saw that like this whole three separate entity thing was all a lie. I was living in another city. I was, I think, 30 years old, and I was walking to the store, and two other guys were coming the other way, and one of them had done like 5 years, and the other one had done like 10 years upstate. They were both reasonably tough and dangerous guys, and I wasn't in the best mood. And I was, as I was going down the street, like, they got out of my way. And when I got back to my apartment, I'm like, why did they get out of my way? Like, what's going on there? And in the back of my mind, like, you fucking idiot, because you're a violent psychopath and they've heard about all the shit you've done. And that that wasn't me. It's like, yeah, that was you. That's why they're afraid of you. I was like, oh shit. Like those, they shouldn't be afraid. Like, how? Like, that's not me, but it is me. Otherwise, they wouldn't be afraid of me. Why? Like, it was a shocking experience at that time. Now you have to remember too, there was 10 years of my life where I didn't look in a mirror. I wouldn't look in mirrors. I could not stand my own reflection. It would send me into a fucking rage. I'd smash the mirror. I had to get away from that. I couldn't deal with what was in the mirror, because that, like, what I saw was not me. I was a child. Like, I was like 3 to 6 years old. That thing in the mirror, that's like a creation of my mind. That's like the sheet. Like, that's not real. This is what a fractured mind can do. So at that point, like, I knew that it was all me. And like, like, head in hands, like, no, no, it's not true. But there was no denying it. Why else would these fucking convicts be afraid of me? Now, you have to also remember, like, the most violent point in my life is 26 to 28 years old. And so at this point, I'm 30. So now, like, I'm out of the environment that I grew up in, and like the drugs and all that. Like, I've moved myself away from all that. But like, it's not that far in the past. So it's not like it is now, even, where it's like that. It's like 15 years ago or something. 26 now would be, yeah, I guess like 15 years ago. So I'm terrible at math. Anyway, so, like, in a way, and I don't know if that's dissociative identity disorder. I don't know if that's just a coping mechanism for how I dealt with things. Because, like, for my youth, my will was broken. Like, I couldn't fight back growing up. I would just let myself get hit. I would just let myself get hurt. I couldn't fight back. And everyone I met, I assumed was going to hit me. Literally everyone I met, I expected to hit me. Didn't matter who they were: teachers, students, people on the street, the guy at the Chinese food store. Everyone I expected to hit me. Like, in my mind, I expected at any point these people are just going to start beating me and sexually abusing me. That's what I saw. That's how my understanding of life was. That's what people do to you. And so it wouldn't be until I was late 16, early 17, was like the first time I committed a violent act against another person. And even that I didn't want to do. I was literally forced to. And I knew the punishment would be so much worse for not doing it. So, like, I had no choice. But, I wanted to do it too. I wanted to be able to hurt other people. I wanted to be tough. I wanted to be dangerous. It's just, I knew I wasn't. But you have to remember, like, that mentality is still with me when I'm 26 and 28 years old, and I'm fucking people up. And I just don't see it as me doing it. And when I think about it, I don't think about it as me doing it. Now, that's some weird shit. Um, Now, like I said, I don't know if this is dissociative identity disorder. Um, I don't know what the hell you call it. I would have just called it a coping mechanism up until I was watching those videos. And I was like, I wonder if what I actually had was something similar to that, because, like, my mind couldn't put all this stuff together. Um, and, like, it still bothers me that there's a part of me that, like is turned on by all that shit. Um, It really bothers me. And occasionally I'll see stuff where it's like bad stuff, but it gets me like excited, and there's like an intense feeling of disgust about myself, because it's like this shouldn't make you excited. This shouldn't turn you on, and there's no denying it does. Like, and the feeling of disgust and disdain, and like I don't belong around other people, like I should be separated from people and stuff like that. But you know, so I wonder if that is like what dissociative identity disorder actually is, because like what I see from them is like nothing compared to, like, I don't want to say it's nothing compared to it, but it's like they were two completely different things. Like they're using these identities as like ways of labeling their emotions and stuff like that. Like I was like a fractured, traumatized mess that didn't look in mirrors. I remember the first time I looked in a mirror when I was 30 or 31 years old. And my first thought when I looked in that mirror was, you look terrible. Um, and I mean, imagine there, like, you go 10 years without looking in a mirror. Like your appearance obviously isn't of the utmost importance to you. Not like I'm winning any beauty competitions now, but you know, but I think about that, and like is that what dissociative identity disorder was, or is I don't know. I can't tell you. But I there's a lot of stuff with like psychiatric terms and psychiatric language that has a place, and it makes sense. But I also remember when I was young, and like psychiatrists, and I used to see a lot of psychiatrists and stuff. The I wanted therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists. I wanted someone to tell me what was wrong with me. I wanted someone to label me. Like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not like other people? Can't you just tell me? Like, you have all these fucking books, you've read all these fucking things, right? What the fuck is wrong with me? Like, can't you just tell me so I'll know? And that is like an extremely attractive proposition and something I desperately wanted, but that's not how it works. And just because you fit all the criteria for something does not mean you have that thing. It's much more complicated than that. And there's so many things, especially when I was younger, I would fit the criteria of, but I do not have. Like every issue I have, it comes from post traumatic stress. It is some like manifestation or echo of that, but it's been labeled as all kinds of different things. And none of the pills ever did me any good. In fact, one of the pills almost killed me. It's on the third day I couldn't move. All my joints were swollen and like bright red, knees, shoulders, wrists, elbows. Like I was literally laying in bed and I couldn't move. And I had to have someone call the psychiatrist, and they put the phone up to me. And I was like, hey, I can't move. What's going on? And he's like, you need to stop taking the medication immediately. I'm like, why? And he's like, because you'll die. And apparently, if I had taken it for like another day or two, like it enters you into some state where your like flesh just starts rotting off. Like your joints swell up so much that the blood can't get to your limbs or something anymore, and like your flesh starts going necrotic. So after that, I was like, maybe these people don't know as much as they purport themselves to. But one of the pills the psychiatrist gave me, just it every like fear or apprehension I had towards violence, like what prevented me from acting, just went away. And the way I will phrase it in my mind is like that's the day the world turned red. Um, like that would have been when I was about 26 years old, and like that was the impetus to this just wave of carnage I went on. um, of just, and I never really hurt a lot of people who didn't deserve it. I'm sure there are like some that got caught up in the fervor. Uh, but most of the people were people that were involved in very fucked up stuff already. They were heavily involved in the drug trade and other real ugly things. Because like I felt bad for things that were weaker than me or more vulnerable than me. I always connected to those things because I saw myself ultimately as that thing. Like I'm still a child that's like 3 to 6 years old, even though I'm obviously not. Like it's weird what goes on in your head. But like so I saw that we were like the same thing, so I can't hurt those things. Those things are to be protected, and uh, like I never really like I've never hit a woman to this day. Um, I won't even yell at women. Like I don't raise my voice because in my eyes, the only reason someone raises their voice is because they are saying, "I'm going to hit you." Like that's what raising either get the fuck out of here or I'm gonna hit you. Like, do you want to continue this confrontation? Do you want to escalate things? So, like, I know that's not the way really anyone else views it, and people yell to get their emotions out, and like they're all fine with it, and they can argue back and forth, and it's like I can't do that. Like, yelling leads to hitting in my eyes. The only reason I'm gonna raise my voice is because I'm gonna punch you in your fucking face next. Like I'm saying, get the fuck away from me, or I'm gonna hit you, or worse. Like you're pushing your luck here, pal. But yeah, the that is the most extreme example I can think of is like with the dissociative identity disorder thing, because like it really sounds like it, like significant trauma and abuse, like early in life. And as I'm getting older, I'm constantly drinking liquor, and I don't know what the fuck I am. Like I don't grow up. Like my age seems to stay the same, even though I'm obviously getting older, and like there's the external me that has to interact with people, but like that's just a sheet that's not supposed to show anything and be there to deal with people. And then there is the bad part, the red. And I don't even like acknowledging that. I don't like thinking about it. Like, I used to always watch a lot of horror movies, and it was the only thing I ever watched. And I guess that was like the quelling of that. And I understood it. Uh, like I remember this one therapist asking me, and it was a poignant question. I don't accept it, but I still think it was a very good question. She's like, the only music you listen to is a man screaming at you, and the only movies you watch are people being massacred. Do you think that might say something about your upbringing? And at the time, I was younger, and I also didn't accept like childhood affects who you become as an adult. Like I there's a lot of people that have that opinion too, and there's a lot of for a lot of different reasons. But like I was still of the mindset that like it's for different reasons that you become these things, and I didn't really accept that like childhood shapes who you become as an adult, and all the problems from childhood will manifest in different ways as an adult. So it's really a shame to see that language like normalized almost because it has no place in normal society like that. It has no place like people should not be trying to diagnose each other. People should not be using the terms like you have this wrong with you and you have that, and like that's very because one like psychiatric problem can look like so many different things, and it especially if a person has like read something about it, and like now they're fixated on it. So like now their problem is like manifesting more is towards that. Like I reading psychiatric texts for people that are like unwell and trying to figure out what's wrong with them is like the worst thing you can do. It's like giving a hypochondriac a medical textbook. Because you'll start to manifest those things because you're so desperate to know what's wrong with you, and you want like a label or something so badly. I know I did. Um, but that's just never the way it was. And like I wish I had better answers for someone going through that as well. But I like it's when you get to be about 28, things start to settle down in your mind a lot more. But I don't know with women. I'm not female. Like I always related a lot to women, but I'm not female. So like I don't know what women go through. So I don't really try and speak on that because I have no personal experience. Like I know I've talked to a lot of girls. I've talked to a lot of women like very deeply for long periods of time, but like I still don't know what those personal experiences are like. I don't know what's going on there, so I stay away from you know, saying anything like that person's lying or this. I just don't know. I don't have the basis to say. But it's unfortunate because it has a place, and it makes a lot of people very it makes a lot of people speculate that it's not real and it's all fake and it's all bullshit because it's vastly over applied, and it should really stay in like the psychiatric places. I don't know. For what it's worth, I guess. Fucking idiot too, so what the fuck do I know?